All right, my friends. So, welcome and thank you for joining me. It is a time that I never anticipated doing a webinar masterclass on a crisis like this, but I am thrilled that I'm actually equipped in order to share it with all of you. I know so many of you on the phone, but are on here, but there's so many new people. So, welcome. And I applaud you for even reaching out and trying to find some tools to help you through this time that is completely unprecedented to all of us. So, we're going to talk about finding calmness among crisis. And the reason I chose to do this is as a certified life coach, I literally, for the last number of years, have been working on managing my mind and mastering my emotions and have gotten pretty darn good at it, I must say. And so now I do it and I help my clients do the same. And yet, this last week, I have been inundated with feelings of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, more so than I have in the number of years collectively of me learning these tools. So I thought, okay, wait a minute. If I'm feeling this, then dollars to donuts, you guys are too. And that's why I put this out here to help and give you some of the tools that I've been having to go to in order to get me back into the game. So I'm happy to share these with you today. All right, so we're going to get started, and I'm going to actually just highlight for you what, in fact, your job is in this time. Because under all of the craziness that's going on in the world right now, we have this thought and belief that everything is out of our control, right? And news continues to highlight all of that for us. So I really want you to know that you still have a job to do. And your job is to manage your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health. And that can be done regardless of where you are and whether or not you're on self isolation or not. It is completely up to you to do this. And I love, we were just talking prior to the call starting, is that there's so many organizations and individuals out there that are offering and stepping up to show us physical ways to still stay active and manage that physical part of it. There's always things in the news about how we can update our, our health and our immune system and everything else. Our spiritual health. I mean, my goodness, my church is reaching and going above and beyond by doing online church services. They're now doing prayer chat services. They're doing a whole bunch of ministry online, never been done before. And so, as a coach, my job is to help you with managing your mental and emotional health. Those are the two things that I do, and that's what I can help with. So that's what we're going to concentrate on today, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Because when I work with my clients, it is to always empower them, helping them get to this place of feeling in control and feeling empowered, and giving them the tools in order to do that, regardless of the circumstances around them. So I know it can be done because we're doing it in so many other areas of uncertainty that we're just going to plug in COVID-19 as a circumstance. And I'm going to teach you how you can feel empowered and in control, even in this craziness of COVID. So, what are you currently feeling right now is what I want you to be able to identify with. So, I've put some up there and I've peppered them throughout, but I'm really interested to know what you are currently feeling. So this is where I'm going to go to my chat box, and I want you for a moment to actually update in there. We'll move off of the wine and the beer that we're having, and we're going to put in there, what feelings are you currently feeling right now with everything going on? Put in there, because sadness. Thank you, Kelsey. That's not necessarily one that I have up there. So thank you for adding to that. But what other ones might you have in there? If you have a minute, just pop them in there. Overwhelmed, awesome. Anxious, out of control, all of the above. Perfect. Disappointed. Okay. Yeah. And then we've got some that are concerned about, they've been doing all of this work of managing their mind, and now all of a sudden they're thrown a curveball. And does that mean that all of the things they've learned about, managing their emotional eating is going to go out the window? Right? Totally get that. All right. And my husband's talking about being hungry all the time. I'm not sure what that's all about. All right. We are um, getting back to the feelings of feeling angry, overwhelmed, anxious, frantic, scared, worried, nervous, loss of control, concerned. Yeah, that's another one. Perfect. All right. So tell me in the next one of what we think is actually making us feel this way, right? For you, what is the biggest thing right now for you that you are feeling? What's making you feel all of those emotions? Put that in the chat line too. The unknown, absolutely. Loss of control, all the news stories, the news, uncertainty, ability to handle what comes up next. Then, yeah, I love that. Playing out things, how things might go, right? That's into the future. Hearing of other people's situation. Yeah, so good, guys. Stress, work pressure, absolutely. Yeah. Watching a train wreck. Right. So good. And this is even what you've typed there, those two comments, I'm going to say is going to be so valuable in this masterclass that we're doing together because you've in essence done some of the work already. So I'm super excited for you guys. All right. So all of the thoughts that you're having right now is because I would offer that we're thinking it's because COVID-19, the schools are closing. That announcement came yesterday, right? We're inundated. We watch the news tonight at dinner time. The stock market's down, the Canadian dollar's down. And then the rash of, people hoarding on toilet paper, and my husband couldn't find my milk today, and just, the common necessities of life, right? That's what we tend to think is causing us all of these feelings. But I want to pause, and if there's nothing else that you get from this masterclass than this, is that as long as we follow that line of thinking, that it's these things that are causing us to feel a certain way, well, then that theory must mean that we'll never feel differently until that circumstance changes. And that leaves us feeling completely helpless and completely out of control. And that, my friend, is not at all going to help us get through this uncharted territory. So work with me on this one. I'm going to offer that actually what's causing us to feel the way that we're feeling is the thoughts that we're having. So you've just all put different thoughts in there, right? And it's the thoughts that we're having that's actually creating those emotions for us. Which again, if nothing else you get from the class, we are in control of our thoughts. So although COVID-19 is out there, present, the thoughts that we have is what we're in control of. So when we want to think that we're out of control and we have no choice, when in fact, we get to choose the thoughts that we're having. So listen carefully to me though. I am not at all suggesting that we're just going to go and pick puppy and rainbow thoughts at all. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. But I'm offering, I want for anything, the lesson for today is to recognize that a lot of the fear, anxiety, overwhelm that we're sitting in, we could actually reduce by taking a look at the thought that we're having. So here are some of the common thoughts that I had listed from when I was thinking COVID-19. My thought is, crap, this is really bad. People are going to die. When I was thinking about the schools closing, I had the thought, our son's future is at risk. He's in his second year at business at Calgary. When I had the thought of the stock markets down and the Canadian dollar down, I thought instantly we're going to lose our house. I went right into the future in the panic and being homeless. And when I had the thought of no toilet paper, I instantly went to scarcity, thinking we won't have enough of, right? All of those thoughts then leading me to the most common reaction, which is stress, anxiety, overwhelm, fear, all of it. And these were all the thoughts that I've been continuously having this last week. So what do? I want to teach you, and some of you on here know this model. And friends, that doesn't scare me at all because I know the model really well, and I have had to refamiliarize myself with this daily, because I need to use the model to get my head in the game in order to show up less panicked, less overwhelmed, and less fearful. So we're going to revisit this, and for those of you who are on it, it is a nugget for you. And those of you that it's new to, I'm literally opening up a whole new avenue for you, and I'm so excited. So this is the modality that I use to teach my clients, and I literally use every day of my life. I run a model all the time, every day, all the time, because it helps me. It takes all of our 5 elements of us being human, and at any given time, I can plunk in whatever it is that's going on in my life. I can plug it into one of these 5 areas of the model, and it's an equation that helps me manage my thoughts and master my emotions. So this is what it looks like. It's basically, it takes our circumstances that trigger our thoughts, that cause our feelings, and our feelings cause us to take actions, which ultimately provides us our results. So what would we deem as a circumstance is they are the facts in the world, and they're neutral. And it's really, really important to remember the facts are something. I talked to a client today, and I'd said, it's like we're kind of pulling out the spaghetti squash, right? And I'm just getting to the tip of it, and everything else hanging are simply just facts. We tend to think that everything you put in the chat line, we think, oh, okay, no, this is all facts you don't understand. Like, wait a minute. Let's pull out the fact, because here's the good news. If everything else is thoughts, it means everything else is actually optional. And we have so much more control than we actually even thought we did. So the circumstance are facts and neutral. And I always add the extra little pepper to it of saying, it's as if you're having to tell it to a judge. And would the judge agree with you? Yes, that's completely the fact. Today is Wednesday. It's 7:14. It's factual. What am I making that mean? Causes me to have an emotion, which then causes me to do or not do something. Okay. The thought is simply the sentences in our brain. So every time there's a circumstance, a fact in our life, it triggers thoughts. More than one, absolutely. Right? So whenever I work with my clients, and we'll do some of this today, is I just pick one of the thoughts. So it's a sentence that's running around in my brain. And then our thoughts cause our feelings. So, and feelings are simply a vibration in our body. So go back to the feeling that you entered into the notes here, into the chat, and that emotion sits in you somewhere. And now imagine that feeling, and now imagine being happy. Very different feeling, right? Different vibration in your body, right? Simply a vibration in our body. And our feelings cause our actions. And this is so important, because this is where I work with my clients that are doing the stop overeating and they're doing the non-emotional eating, is that they catch themselves when they've got a clean model and they're on top of their thoughts that are creating them to feel confident. Then their non-action is they are not turning to food. But if they're feeling defeated because of the thought that they're having, then when they're feeling defeated, then they actually do take more food, go to the cupboard, pour the extra glass of wine, whatever that might be. So the actions is always on the action line. It's what we do and what we don't do. And they're equally important to indicate on there. And then our actions ultimately always lead you to Rome, I call it. And it provides you the results of your life. So it's if my client is choosing to go to the cupboard because they're feeling frustrated because they feel they can't control anything in their life because of COVID, then the result is they're going to be eating off protocol, and they're not only going to be feeling out of control about COVID, they're feeling out of control about their life and the food that they're putting into their body. And that's how that shows up for them. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a minute, and I'm going to come back to the board, and I'm going to show you what it is. Let me go here. And I'm going to show you, how do I do this? Okay, I'm just here. All right. So I gave you what the model actually is. And now I want to show you a real life example of how I actually do this daily. And I literally said I do models all the time. And so I'm going to take one of the examples that I showed on our thoughts. So the circumstance, the fact was yesterday, school closure. And that was here in British Columbia, but it was also Calgary University closed and went all online, and they don't kind of know what exam schedules and everything looks like. So that is a fact. There was an email and I read it. Okay. The thought that Lori had about it was, my son's future is at risk. When I have that thought, my feeling was panic. When I felt panic, what did I do? And I turned to the news for more confirmation of that the world is ending and that we're all going to be homeless and die. Which meant then I was not working. I turned to food, and I was not supportive of my son because I started to panic and I was like, okay, so what are you going to do? Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? How are you going to find a job? Come on, let's go find a job. What are you going to do? And I started to add complete pressure to the poor kid. So then the result was, and again, the result is always how it shows up in my life. So my thought was, my son's future is at risk. Watch this. When I felt panic and I turned on the news and I wasn't working, and I turned to food, which then I wasn't following my protocol, and I then was not at all showing up as the mom I wanted to be, Lori was, oh, actually, it was this, Lori's future at risk. The future of me not working, the future of me not having the health I wanted, and the future of me having a relationship and showing up as the mom that I wanted to be was all at risk because of how I was showing up. So friends, as long as I think, wait a minute, it's the school closure that's making me feel panic, I'm going to convince myself that, wait a minute, I'm always going to feel this way, which means I'm always going to be doing this stuff. And let me tell you, I didn't like how I was showing up there. Not at all. So this is how I run a model. This is the model that my brain wanted to give me. And we call it our unintentional model. What Lori did do is I went, wait a minute. How can I feel calm? Amazing, shocking. School closure announcement. You might think like, Lori, you're out of your tree. How could you actually even feel calm? But watch this. As I did this exercise, I went, wait a minute. Noah has a great community in Calgary. He's got 4 roommates that he's just rented a house with. All of them, their parents are interchanged in supporting them and having them for dinner and helping them move. Oh, it just provided me such relief. And I felt so calm. And guess what? When I felt calm, guess what I did? I actually reached out to not only Noah, but one of the friends' moms, right? To continue that support. What else did I do? I stopped eating emotionally. And funny enough, I invited mom to Masterclass because I shared, okay, I'm kind of freaked out about this. You need to come to this class, right? And so my result was I showed up as great. Remember, I'm always trying to find evidence of that thought, as great a mom as I want to be. Friends, I did that. I decided that I no longer wanted to sit. I no longer wanted to sit in panic. I wanted to sit and feel calm, right? So we're going to go back to my Sharzy here. So when we do the model, and I'm happy to take some questions at the end here. I'm going to show you how you can incorporate this. But at the end, if you're stuck with a thought or finding a thought that would get you to feel calm, I'm going to stay on as long as it takes to be able to offer that to you, to work with you to find that thought that's going to make you feel that way. Because as I said, when we started, my mission is to help you feel empowered and in control. And I believe that knowledge will do that. And so knowledge is that, wait a minute, I get to decide what I'm in control of. And so often we think we're out of control because of what is on the news and being bombarded at us. So watch this. I want to show you, and again, I always do this, that the more I understand and study the brain. And let me tell you this, last week, I upper leveled myself with my understanding of my primitive brain. Because the primitive brain is a motivational triad. It provides 3 reasons for its being. It wants to keep us safe, it wants to be efficient, and it wants to seek pleasure. In all of my years of studying this, I never had experienced it to this extent before, is the fact of it wanting to keep me safe, is it kept looking for danger this last week. It kept looking and bigger and bigger. And I went from on my phone to Facebook to Instagram to all of a sudden TV Global to CBC News on the radio. I couldn't seem to get enough of it. And I was fascinated by that because I don't even watch the news. And all of a sudden I couldn't get enough of it. And I realized, wait a minute, that's simply my primitive brain doing its job. And as soon as I realized that, then I went, okay, wait a minute. It thinks that this is imminent danger and I can't do anything, when in fact, I totally can. So as soon as I understood that, then I realized I'm in control of how much media and news I'm actually going to take in. Because when I kept glomming on to the Facebook and Instagram and TV and radio, I kept continuing to have the cycle of thoughts that it's all doom and gloom. We're going to die. I'm going to lose my house. And of course, anytime I think any of those thoughts, I'm going to feel panicked, overwhelmed, and stressed. Of course I am, right? So I liken it to, and my clients are going to giggle because they know that I love working with props. And I'll show this to you. Actually, I got to take this off now. Hold on. Let me just do this. As you know, right? I love my tray. And just imagine all the thoughts that you put in the channel there are simply thoughts that your brain is serving you, right? I want you to really see that. And as long as they're serving you, we think that, well, if I pick up this thought, I can't do this, of course, that's going to make me feel panicked. If I pick up the thought, this shouldn't have happened, of course, I'm going to feel frustrated and angry and pissed off at this. Of course, if I have the thought, we won't have enough, fill in the blank, money, water, toilet paper, of course, I'm going to feel scared and frantic. If I have the thought, something's gone wrong, of course, and here's the thing too, my brain, remember that second part of its job is to be efficient. So it's going to continuously keep providing all of these thoughts to me all of the time. So, and guess what? When my brain thinks something's gone wrong, or we won't have enough, or this shouldn't have happened, when I claim that thought, it then actually goes and finds evidence to support it. Because our brain always wants to be right. That's exactly what it does. It's like, okay, wait a minute. The thoughts that are on this tray are completely, I'm in control of what I'm going to do with them. And am I going to actually pick them up and own them? Or am I just going to notice that they're there and challenge it and question it and ask myself, is this even worth thinking right now? All right. I'm going to bid on a tyrant on that because I love my tray. All right. So another really good tool is to recognize when you're feeling your emotions of overwhelm, stress, anxiety, whatever those were for you, recognizing what do you do when you're there and what do you do not to feel it. Because here's the thing, for me, overwhelm and stress, I went through a whole many years of believing that I couldn't feel them. I wasn't somebody that was strong enough to feel those emotions. And so I would push them off and I would resist them. And I would turn to pretty much everything in this diagram. I would overeat, overdrink, and I was not a very nice person. I would start fights and I would just snap at anybody close to me, people that I loved. It's like, okay, wait a minute. All of my actions were not at all aligned with who I wanted to be. Okay, back up, back up, back up. What am I in control of? And that's the question that I started to ask myself constantly. So I offer that to you today of just tuck that on your piece of paper for today. What can you control today? How do you want to show up today? And and here's the thing, I'm not saying don't have the ice cream, don't have the wine, and don't have the argument. Just decide ahead of time that that's what you're planning on doing. Right? But for me, I was choosing to not feel a certain emotion because I didn't have the belief that I could. And I certainly didn't understand why it was even being created. And now when I understand that I create anxiety like I did last week of turning on all of the news media, and I caught myself, like, hey, wait a minute. And I snapped at Noah. There was another. I was really curt and short with him in a conversation, was completely not the mom I wanted to be. I realized, okay, wait a minute. What am I thinking that's causing me to feel this way, that's making me show up this way? And I got to control that, my friends. And I couldn't control Calgary's university. I couldn't control Calgary's economy state of hiring my son for a job. But I could control the type of mom that I got to show up with in this environment. So I'm going to teach you 3 steps to feel calmness. And I've listed it really easy for you to remember. A, B, C. Told you I should have been a primary teacher. Acknowledge. Acknowledge how you are feeling, right? Go back to the feeling that you put into the comments and where did that feel in your body? And we're going to go into further details on how you're going to do this. B is break it down. Remember the spaghetti squash. Why that came to me, I don't know. Spaghetti squash, pulling out the facts and the rest of them being thoughts. We're going to do an exercise on that. And then C, control. Decide what thought you want to have. You're in control of that. And if, like one of my clients on the call today, if that means writing that down on your arm to remind yourself in all of this craziness that you are in control of your thoughts and of your feelings. Start having that thought now to get you through the next couple of days, weeks, months. We don't know. So step 1 is acknowledge how you are feeling. Where do you feel it in your body? Remember, I kind of went back and said, okay, if it's stress, for me, it's tightness in my chest. And happiness, when I said, okay, so what does happiness feel like? It's totally light and I open up. So getting really familiar with where your emotions, I call them, land on you, only makes you you're mastering your emotions. You're understanding where they're landing on you. And then what do you do and not do when you feel this way? So important. Because we can have the same, I had a client today that it was so interesting. She found herself in the action line that she was turning to her Bible, but she was doing it from a negative feeling. So she was running to her Bible because she was pissed off. It's like, okay, could we get you to, I'm not changing the action. The action's fine, but can we talk about the feeling that's activating that action? And do you always want to turn to that? Or is it maybe that you're encouraged to? So we just did some work on that because it was ultimately the thought. She just wanted to change how she was feeling, but she wasn't really recognizing the thought that was getting her there. And then asking yourself, are you resisting or reacting or avoiding to a feeling? Right? Again, the same client, I gave her the thought today that she is a woman that can handle any emotion. She's raised 2 kids as a single mom. Yes, she can. She just needs to start thinking that is a woman that does hard things, or a man does hard things. But as long as we keep having thoughts that I can't do this, I'm not good enough, right? I've never been through a pandemic before. It's going to make us feel a certain way and show up a certain way. But we get to decide what our thoughts are. Step number 2 is to be, which is break it down. What are the facts and the rest are the thoughts? So what thought is causing you to feel the way that you're feeling? Is it feeling like you're out of control? I can't do this. Is it feeling the uncertainty of the future of having enough of something? Is it the feeling, or pardon me, the thought that we can't keep up, we can't pay our mortgage, we can't, and we feel like we have no options? I really encourage you to break it down and go, okay, but wait a minute, what is the fact? Well, the fact is right now, we have enough of everything that we need. Present day, present hour, even if you have to. Because as we've even seen in this pandemic that nobody's been through ever in our lifetime, is that we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Absolutely don't. So how about we just start staying in our own lane and staying in control of what we do know? And right now, I have enough toilet paper to get me through till tomorrow. Perfect. I have enough milk to get me through. And when I start having those thoughts, I feel calmer. I'm less panicked. I'm less stressed. I'm less overwhelmed. And step number 3 is to control. Take back control, my friends. Start asking yourself, what thought creates? Is it calmness for you that you want? Then remind yourself you're totally in control of that. Ask yourself, what is in your control right now? And then what thoughts help you stay in the present? And as I said, I'm bringing it back. When I start to, calling it rabbit hole, and I start to go down that, it was interesting. One of your comments was the future. That's totally me. That's my MO usually, of jumping right into the future. As I said, I typically go to Jim and I being homeless and dying. Okay, wait a minute. Those thoughts are not serving me. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. What is the one thing that I can control is my thought? And what thought can I have to keep me present right now? So to recap, the 3 steps to feel calmness is, again, remember, and it's so funny, again, this client, I'm thinking I'm going to see ABC on her arm soon. ABC, acknowledge what you're feeling. B, break it down. Decide what the fact is. And remember, it has to be factual, neutral, and agreed upon by everybody. The court of law has to agree on it. And then everything else are your thoughts. And your thoughts are completely optional. And you're totally in control of those. And C is control. You get to decide to bring back the control and decide, what thought am I going to have in order to feel the way I want to. So I encourage you, create a self-care practice if you haven't already. There are, as I mentioned, in regards to your physical health, there are so many supported organizations and individuals out there. And I've included one of them, and I think she's on the call here. Kelsey is doing free online yoga to help us feel grounded and practice self-care. There's others. Helen had mentioned Lululemon is doing something. So is our yoga studio. Oxygen Yoga is doing online. There's another person that I follow is doing cans, right? I say cans, like she said, grab a can of beans and we're going to do some exercises for arms and stuff. So there's lots out there that we can be doing for physical parts as well. I journal, and I journal as part of my self-care practice. I journal as part of my Christian practice as well, and devotionals. I walk with my dog. And friends, I get coached. I get coached. It's almost daily now by another coach, because right now I've not ever had these type of thoughts inundated like they have before. And I want to be totally, it's like dust falls on our brains, falls in our house, and I'm needing help to clear off the dust. It's totally fine. But the more that I'm getting coached, the more in the game I am to be able to help you. So remember, your job is to manage your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health right now. You get to decide, and all of those are in your control right now. I am happy to help in any way that I can. Follow me on social. I do lots of different interactions on there. I put different encouragements on there and inspirations. Sign up for my weekly inspirational emails. Right now, there's not so much emails going out at a regular pace. They're all over the board. But what I'm doing is I'm doing free coaching on those calls. So if you're currently not one of my clients or on my email, I encourage you, get on there. Then sign up and come to those calls, and I will help coach you and help you get clean off the dust on your brain. And if you think that you need further help and want personal one-on-one, I'm happy to have a call. Let's see if it's a right fit for right now or whatever's going on for you.